All right. So a couple of homework assignment questions for you this week. What was the best game of the season? And I'll let you decide that, however you want to
I think
decide
there
that.
were only two choices, and they were both low hanging. I mean, they were just okay choices. And you mentioned them both, Iowa and Maryland. I probably put Iowa because it was a shutout and it was home and it was whiteout and it was exciting, but it was Iowa, right? Like, so that's kind of hard to make. I mean, it was the best game of the bunch for me. And you didn't know Iowa was going to be good at the time either. So it got a little bit of value because they made the conference championship game.
Well, well, that was kind of they de facto made the
Well, I know.
conference
I
championship,
I I agree.
but that being said, I went back and like looked through the whole reason. One of the reasons why I wanted to do the blog was I wanted a way to catalog kind of the way a season goes for Penn State, and you go back and read what I had put out on the blog that from that week. And Penn State sent a message that week. Like there was steam in the sails. There was steam in the engine towards potentially really beating Ohio State. And I think that was why there was a confidence that Penn State could beat Ohio State. So yes, Iowa would also be my answer in terms of best game, um, just because of that. But even there's not really one play or one moment that you're going to remember from that game. Like
Mm-mm.
it just kind of happened. It was like like to be completely honest, barely remember that that was the whiteout.
Right. It was a workmanlike. There just weren't any. Like I said, there wasn't one of those games like, oh, you left the state and think, yeah, we got that win over that team we shouldn't have beat, or yeah, everything looks so good in that win. I was as close as it got.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The worst game of the season.
These are close, and I was maybe playing my cards too close to the vest. We're talking the season recap. I have Mississippi State there.
You mean Ole Miss?
Ole Miss, yeah, sorry, I wrote Mississippi State, but
Okay.
yes, I Ole Miss. I kind of have them right, like because it was the chance to send you off in the next season. Michigan's close just because by that point people were still saying, oh well, okay, so what Ohio State? We got Michigan State. Well, kind of deluded yourself that there was some hope there. But I think Ole Miss and the Peach Bowl might be in some ways just for all the stuff we ended up talking about, right? Like it just lingers. It's the one that
Hmm.
lingers the longest. So I think that's why it's probably my worst.
That was, I think that's where a lot of frustration this week sits. Is there's nothing Penn State can do to course
Right.
correct that. Like this is it. Like you got to wait till 2024 now. You got to wait till August. Um, I think for me, it's Michigan, just because the way that that game played out felt like Penn State actually had a better chance to beat Michigan than they did Ohio State. And the way that that had played out the year before, it was not even close between Michigan and Penn State in terms of the way that game played out. So to see it play out that way and now see where Michigan's at, like it's obviously some of that's a little bit of jealousy, but like I just think Penn State, I don't know. I think that
And
was
it
the
didn't feel
chance.
close the way they did it, right? Like I mean, Michigan just decided to impose their will on Penn State,
Right.
which was just tough to deal with
And
as a fan and a player, I'm sure.
I think for a lot of ways, Penn State in that game in particular, and this kind of goes back to the complexity of their offense this year, or really the complexity of the game plans this year, was Penn State overthought everything. Like it just felt like it was an overthoughtful game, and they tried to beat Michigan the way that Michigan probably wanted them to play. Um, Also, like from a standpoint of the media circus going into that game, if Penn State beats Michigan, Michigan loses. Penn State probably wins out. They're now going to the Big Ten title because of the tiebreaker situation. And everybody, like Harbaugh is maybe gone, like 100% gone now after the season and the way it shakes out. And instead, this is where we are. Um, so that was a big kind of worst game for me this season. What was your season defining moment?
Ohio State game. Ohio State goes on like a 13 play drive, 61 yards. Oh, there it is. 13 plays, 61 yards to go ahead 10-3. Like when they did that, I'm like, oh shit. Guess what? Here's the defense. They're scoring, they're going to score enough points. It's going to be okay. And I'm not for them. And I'm not sure Penn State's going to score any more points. So it wasn't like a play. It was just like there was the deja vu thing. Here's Ohio State going to do what it wants to do.
I think for me, it also happened in the Ohio State game, and it was that called back that
Oh yeah.
strip sack,
Yep. Yep.
strip fumble
Yep.
touchdown. I think it was Curtis Jacobs who
Yep.
scored, um, or would have scored. You could tell that was the wind out of the sails. Had they taken the lead there, I don't think Penn State really gives up the lead there. And who knows how this season goes? Like who
Right.
knows
And
how the rest of the
those are
season
the
goes
things
from
you
that?
need, and there weren't any of
Yeah,
those. That
all
would have
year
been
long.
right.
Literally aside from opening night, the first drive of Drew to Keandre Lambert Smith for 71 yards or
Yep.
however many yards, that there was no that it
People were so
factor.
excited there was going to be a passing game.
Right. Like it's just like yeah.
Sorry, it's not funny, but it's
No.
funny.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Two more left here. Who was your MVP?
I think Chop Robinson. Like I think counting the bowl game, I might have made it Kalen King because I think they could have overcome just the absence of Chop Robinson. If Kalen King would have been back there, they might have had a chance of stopping a few passes in the Peach Bowl. But I think season long Chop Robinson. I mean, so much was made of his presence, his motor, his impact on the team, the game at Maryland. I mean, just all this stuff. So I think him.
Um, yeah. Chop is the first person to come to mind. However, I'm gonna change the question slightly. I'm gonna from player to person, I'm gonna go with Manny Diaz. I think
There you
that was
go.
the biggest, but I think Chop in terms of player, just the way he took his stats didn't light things up, right? Like it, and aside from really the strip sack or the strip sack against Rutgers really sealed that game. Maybe didn't have like a ton of huge big plays, but it was the way he took away everything to allow everybody else to do their job, and I think that was crucial to me.
Yep.
Okay, last one. This one I'm gonna call our writer MVP, but it can also be our media person MVP. I would prefer if you kept it to the Penn State beat um, on this answer, but you don't have to. Um, who did you enjoy? Whose coverage did you enjoy the most this football season?
I did keep it to Penn State beat, and I
Okay.
went. I think this one will surprise you, and it surprised me when I thought about it. I made Dave Jones my selection.
Why?
Because I think because not I think because on after games on Sundays, I want to read what he had to say as a perspective setter. I respect and appreciate Mike Foreman's all 22 and like it, and there's a lot there all the time, and it takes me time to do that, right? There's always a lot there, and Audrey is different perspectives on stuff and covers the team really well. But when I think about who I want to hear from in like right away, and then like the 3 or 5 reads or whatever he does with his second story each weekend, it's Dave Jones. Like I for as much as he can push people's buttons, he was the one where I got the story, and it seemed like he broke the story on the Maryland aftermath with the feedback from Franklin and how it happened, right? And setting that perspective. And I think he pats himself a lot in the back by saying, well, I asked this question and this is what prompted it. Okay, you're doing your job. That's great. But yeah, I think for me, in terms of what I consumed and what I look forward to, that stuff in the immediacy afterwards, because I knew the result was often top of the list.
All right. All right. You mentioned my answer. It was Mr. Michael Portman and his all 22. Um, I think it was a I think there was a couple of reasons why I liked it. Number one, I love number storytelling. I think I've always enjoyed that. I think that's if you can do that, you can do it well. It's always great. And I think Mike did a great job at that. I think the other thing was it was something fresh and new for especially no offense, Mike, for somebody that's been on the beat for,
Well, for the beat
quite a
period. I mean,
while.
he always does a good of zigging when everybody else is zagging. He
Yeah.
introduced the all 22 for this season. I'm sure there'll be something different next season because he's not going to get caught in the same trope over and over. He'll find a different way to present kind of the same stuff, which I think is great. So yeah, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah. No, so that would be my pick. All right. I think we covered the season pretty well there.